Hi, it's Winton Churchill with the Barefoot Consultants. And today we're going to be talking about some of the uh, things people can do, baby boomers, 50 plus, if they're starting a freelance business, some of the tips for getting started. And, with the great resignation we have going on now, there's um, lots of people that are going back into the office as employees and saying I'm not going to do this anymore, and some of them are saying I'm going to work out a deal with my company to work from home, and that's happening some, but a lot of them are saying I'm going to be a freelancer. I'm going to go out and do what I've been doing for a company for 5, 10, 20 years, and I'm going to do it on my own, and I'm going to make that happen because I just had uh, a year and a half or a year and 3/4 of working from home, and I really like all the benefits of that. And I find I don't have to have the same kind of expense structure. I don't have to have an extra car. I don't have to have an extra wardrobe. I don't have to have uh, lots of different things. And I see Jeanette has just joined us. Good to see you, Jeanette. Welcome to the call. Always enjoy having you come in and your comments from time to time. So thanks very much. Uh, yeah, just so what do you do? How do you put this thing together? I've talked to a number of people who have joined the Great Resignation, and they say, "Oh my gosh, what am I going to do now?" Because being a freelancer is more than just doing the work. It also includes uh, running your business. There's things like forms to file, tax things to set up, uh, bookkeeping to do, invoicing to do. All these things become, an action item on your daily schedule one way or another. And in fact, this is one of the challenges for people that want to freelance is they like to do what they do, whatever it is. It might be making PowerPoint, it might be doing proofreading, it might be doing customer service, but they don't necessarily care so much about doing the boring stuff, the stuff they're not interested in. Well, the great news is today that there's millions of freelancers out there who specialize in doing the boring stuff you don't like to do. So it's very easy to go out and find somebody online to do your bookkeeping and find somebody online to keep up with your tax filings and that sort of thing, and keep up with your organization and plan your air travel if air travel is something that is part of what you do as a freelancer. So wonderful opportunity for freelancers to tap into other freelancers. But the thing that we want to talk about are what are the tips that are practical. And I've been talking to freelancers for 20 years since I first went on the Elance system, actually 21 years ago, and explaining to them how it works, how to get started, all that kind of stuff. We've had over 40,000 folks go through our programs, which is very gratifying, and learn about freelancing. I see Tom's dropped by. Good to see you, Tom. Happy Friday to you. Hope all is well. Hearing from a lot of friends who are going through the Omicron virus nut right now. It's spreading a lot around a lot. Obviously, that's not news. You probably knew that already, but lots of people are getting it. But thankfully, the people I know they're having very mild symptoms, and let's hope we all get past this, and this chapter of our life fades into the rearview mirror in a way that allows us to get back out there and have some fun, do some traveling. I made my first air reservation in let's see what it's been 21 months, almost 2 years. So feels good to now have a seat on a plane. and be heading out. So looking forward to that. So the first, it kind of, the tip is to sort of be practical when you think about being a freelancer. And there are several things, levels of being a freelancer. One is pirouetting out of your current job at whatever your current salary is, and that's what most people want to do. What they don't realize is that you know you're talking to a whole new set of people that have to get to understand what your experience set is and that kind of thing, what you're able to do for them. Can you work with other members of their team? All kinds of considerations there. So you're typically not going to step right out of your job and step into a job that pays you the exact same money. The thing is that depending upon what skills you have, you can go in that direction. I mean, if you were making a certain amount of money, typically as a freelancer, over a very short period of time, if your skills are in demand, you can plug back into other people that need that same skill and get very close, if not exceed the money you're making. In fact, I saw a survey recently that said most freelancers, 1 year after they started freelancing, are actually earning more income than they were earning before. So that's a good thing. Uh, but it takes time to build that, and most people making that move spend way too much time, trying to reach for that, and I would equate it to jumping up 5 rungs on the ladder, from the ground versus taking it step by step and building that up. And it takes about 30 to 60 days, in my experience, working an hour or two a day to put this together and begin earning online. And if you take a program like one of ours, our 21-day program, you can actually do this a lot easier. There's a lot of expertise that we've developed over 21 years of helping people figure out how to be freelancers, and can help shortcut some of that, can help you tap into the skills that are most in demand. And that's obviously where you're going to make the most money. A lot of people, however, coming to freelancing in the 50 plus group, money's not the most important thing. Yeah, it's important, but the lifestyle is more important. They want to get away from the office. They want to get away from coming into an office where everybody's coughing and hacking with winter colds, or so, that kind of thing. They want to get away from the boss. They want to get away from the the indignity, I guess, of cubicles. They just they want to be free, like they've been able to be for the last period of time. So the practical thing is allow yourself an amount of time to do this stuff. So one of the things that we do, we teach this program and have you go through various things like setting up your profile online and that kind of thing. And I've had people tell me that they tried to do this on their own. They spent probably 50 or 60 hours poking at it, and they really didn't get where they wanted to go. They just kind of gave up on it. They figured out that freelancing wasn't a good fit for them. Well, they took our program and then they actually started freelancing. And our program, it's called 21 Days to Your Freelancing Success, and it takes about working 1 to 2 hours a week for 21 days to do the things you need to do to get set up properly and get your ducks in a row in a way that makes sense to freelance buyers, to go into one of these marketplaces that we teach about and that kind of thing. And so if you don't set aside that period of time, you're just not going to get there, because it does take that much time. The default mode that I see most people that don't do this get into is they go online, they set up a very minimal profile, and then they start bidding on jobs, and they don't get jobs. They can't understand why they don't get jobs, and usually the reason is they're not communicating in a way that buyers like to be communicated to, and they haven't given the buyer enough information in their profile, which is like a resume but completely different than a resume. And they just they haven't done the work, you know. It's so doing that is in my mind the best way to kind of get the ball rolling, is follow sort of a step-by-step process that leads you through those things and gives you checklist for that kind of thing. And you can I'm going to pop our website in here, because people ask, you know, what are your products, and just look for 21 days there and you'll see it. And that's a great way to get going. The next most important thing for people 50 plus is managing your energy. And this is really a big one. You know, I talk to people that come through that program and says, you know, I've been doing your program. I work on it, you know, couple days a week for an hour or two, and I'm just not getting anywhere. And, you know, I ask them a few questions. What about this? What about that? And when they say that kind of thing, that I'm just not getting anywhere, usually I say, well, when are you working on this? And then they'll say, well, usually in the evening after I get home from work, I have dinner and I sit down and I look at this. And I know that for me and many of the people that I've talked to over the years, that's not a very good time to do that. Your energy is at its greatest ebb. And if you eat before you try to focus on something like this, your body's pretty busy digesting everything, and all those, you know, carbohydrates and everything that make you a little bit sleepy are flowing through your blood system right after you eat, and you're sitting there trying to do something at night. And I have this experience myself. A lot of times I'm on a deadline for writing an article or making a video or whatever it might be. But if I, you know, I can do it, work on it for an hour or two at night, and I make very slow progress. But if I get up earlier in the morning, I can knock it out in a half hour or 45 minutes. So you know, you want to understand that your brain is operating at a different you know, RPM, if you will, and your whole psyche is operating at a different RPM, and we all work at different paces as we age, you know, and adjusting to the pace that optimizes your learning is a very important thing to understand. Because I also talk to freelancers that once they're freelancing, they're trying to do all their freelance work at night after dinner, when may or may not be the best time for them to do it. Of all the people I talk to, I find that people that are figuring out how to become freelancers, you know, usually find that working on this, even a half hour in the morning, they might the faster progress. A success trend seems to be that people that set aside an hour or two on a Saturday morning also tend to clip through this stuff pretty well and get where they're going as a freelancer. So that's number 2 tip, is really pay attention to your energy levels and manage accordingly. Find your peak period of time. So the third thing is realize that life happens. And I hear people, you know, that have Zoom calls with them 101 or in some of our group calls, and they'll be beating themselves up, you know, for not being able to make faster progress, not getting there. And I say, well, tell me a little bit about what's going on in your life right now. And they say, well, I'm retiring in 6 months, so I'm turning over all the job activities that I do, uh, you know, and training people that are going to be picking up the activities I do. And, you know, that's pretty intense. That's you got to do your job, plus you got to train somebody else to do it. So you're doing a lot of extra work there. So that may or may not be the one thing that really uh, you know bumps you into the off to the planet. It's something you got to pay attention to. And I want to say hi to Christopher coming in from the Hotel Del there. Yes, my background, I was filming a podcast last week, and they had a no green screen rule. So that's all live. If I went back and put on my pith helmet, it would actually be a real pith helmet rather than a fake one. So using direct lighting and direct background, and some of the places that I've had the good fortune to be down in Huatulco, in San Miguel, and there's a picture over my shoulder there of some figurines at the British Museum that I visited a couple years ago, just before the pandemic. And yes, this whole idea of being kind to yourself is important. People are moving house, they're buying a new house, they're helping out maybe adult children or children that are getting off to college. All these things are things that intervene. They potentially slow you down on this, but the thing that slows you down more than life is beating yourself up about it. And I've found that it's very useful to just have the concept of, I'm making progress. I'm doing good. I maybe didn't get as much done this week as I did last week, but I'm going to be in a place next week or the following week where I can pick this up and keep moving, because I'm figuring out. And yes, the no green screen rule has to do with when they stream out to large audiences, because green screens generally, as you know, look very good when you're broadcasting over Zoom or something like that. But when you're on one of these podcasts that might be broadcasting out to a very large audience all at once, it's more complicated. They restrict the bandwidth, and the green screen, it's a little complicated, but you're picking up fewer images every second on that, and so the green screen looks jerky. And so this is what we and some of the other people on the podcast arrived at, is just putting your just throwing up the lights and looking at whatever's behind you, and it's sometimes it's not too attractive, but I had the good fortune to have lots of pictures to hang and things to do, and so it all worked out. Yeah. And in both regards, it's baby steps. It's those little baby steps that uh, makes this work. And yes, I agree with you, not being a fan of green screens. I'd rather just have what I have. And certainly uh, prior to traveling, a lot of my stuff was just from wherever I was. So it might be from a cafe, it might be from a hotel, it might be from a park near where I'm traveling to, or that kind of thing. And looking forward to getting back to that. That's always more fun. And having that, and the thing that the reason that I do green screens is, what we know is that people that watch our training programs, which you said lots of people over the years go through our training programs, is the scenery has to change. And they remember the training program by the background you're in. And if the background never changes, all your training kind of runs together in their brain. And so that's why we mix it up pretty good. And so, with that, those are the three main things I wanted to cover. You want to be practical on scheduling the time that you need to do this. You want to manage your energy so you're doing that move from freelancing to uh, into freelancing on uh, an energy schedule that puts you at your peak of learning. Because obviously, for many people, this is the most important career move they're going to make right now. And then you want to account for life happens. We're all, uh, you know, moving in, moving out, uh, wrapping up a career, starting a new one, uh, helping the kids, helping the aging parents, helping somebody that's got COVID, whatever it might be. There's just stuff that goes on. So, important thing to understand, to pace yourself through that uh, process. And yeah, certainly, what we know, and I know you know a lot about this, is with brain science, is that we respond to different stimulation, and our brain kind of energizes uh, and becomes more alert as we have different stimulus in our situation, in our whatever. So that's why the changing backgrounds really do that. In fact, just a little factoid is that most all news programs that you watch, if you watch them carefully, all have these little sort of things moving in the background, and maybe a earth rotating, or stars, or little traces moving in the background. And long ago, in the world of broadcast media, they somebody theorized, and they proved the theory, that this thing called your reticular cortex, I believe is what it's called, not a brain science, but occasionally read stuff, and so the idea is that we all have a part of our brain that evolved to help us avoid that crazy predator that would hide in the trees and jump on us and kill us and eat us. And what happens is your brain goes on alert when you see the leaves rustle. There are parts of your brain and your eyes that are much more sensitive to seeing something in your peripheral vision to seeing something in your central vision. Well, what they figured out is that your body goes on more of an alert state. Your blood pressure will actually go up, and that kind of thing. If you're watching the news, if the background has no motion in it, you're not as excited as it versus seeing those little tracks and those little circles turn around and all that kind of stuff. And go watch your favorite newscast, and they all have it now, for the most part, where there's some kind of motion in the background, and that's why it puts you in that alert state. And we've all had way too much alert state in the last few years. Oh, there's Wilkins. Good to see you today. Welcome into the call. Glad to have you here. And Christopher's commenting on the various backgrounds and also inserts of things that move. It might be a logo that turns, or something there. And Christopher knows that it's called the reticular activating system. So very good. Yes, and please don't kill me and eat me. Yes, thankfully we've evolved from that, but our circuitry is still there, and we're ready to pounce if need need it. Yes, and Bob says, good to see you from Roatan. Are you sure you're not a brain scientist? Yes, but we actually have a program within the Barefoot Consultants called Barefoot Brain. It's a certification program but that's the program where we look at a lot of that, because in my mind, brain, a lot of the underpinnings of being a successful freelancer have to do with tapping into the brain, tapping into your metabolism in ways that are more productive for you. And that's a very important thing to do. The good thing is that our coaches know that information. You don't have to. You just have to know what works. Like, one of the things that we recommend in doing a lot of our exercises is writing, handwriting, because uh, different folks have figured out that you activate about 10,000 circuits or neural pathways in your brain when you do handwriting as an exercise. When you're typing it on your computer, you're only involving about 4 pathways. So if you ask somebody a question and they type the answer, they're going to typically have a much better answer if they handwrite it than if they write it out. So, yes, and Christopher points out that Barefoot Brain doesn't quite sound anatomically correct. You're absolutely right. That's why we picked it. It creates the cognitive dissonance of what could the brain possibly have to do with feet. But I have some very interesting answers about that. I was reading an article about Einstein recently, and when he worked in various organizations, he insisted that he be able to wear sandals, not have to wear shoes. Now, think about that. This is one of the most fabulous minds that ever walked the earth. And he's had this situation where it turns out he considered essential to his work the ability to be barefoot. It's just he was able to think more freely and that kind of thing. Well, through study and analysis, there's something to do with this. And I have worked with a Feldenkrais practitioner. This is kind of a body worker person, and they're very much on, spreading the toes and have them operate independently. It's obviously more complicated to have your toes work independently than be all bundled up in a tight shoe, but that apparently stimulates your brain and activates your brain when you're barefoot in ways that you don't normally stimulate the brain. So very important. And even in things like stroke therapy and that kind of thing, that's one of the things they do now is individually manipulate the digits, and both in your hands and feet. And yeah, that's good. Barefoot Genius, very good. And uh love the Feldenkrais stuff. It's amazing. I've been had the good fortune to discover that as body work. It might be described as similar in some ways to things like chiropractic and other forms of massage and that sort of thing, but it's focused in a very certain way on just skeletal structure and brain science and that kind of thing. And that. So, Christopher's spreading his toes now. So that's and he is digitally desirable. There you go. All right. Very good. And yes, you're right. It's very complementary to chiropractic and that kind of thing. And another thing, as we age, certainly important to keep flexibility in the joints, just like flexibility in the head. So all good things. So yeah, good. So happy to take any questions you might have. Yes, and Christopher says stay flexible in mind and body. All good stuff. And thankfully, some of the new exercise equipment is designed that way. Really, really cool. And so let's see. Christopher's asking what our membership investment is. Well, if you join one of our programs, you get a year's worth of membership. It's and it we work a lot with our partner International Living on that, so you'll see promotions from them a number of times a year. That'll be about $200, and you'll get a year's membership in our program plus the entire program. And you can see that on our website, and it'll just click through to International Living, and you can buy it there. So that will give you a chance to do that. And we, for people that are in that membership, we meet 52 times a year on Tuesday night for live webinar. It's a little bit like this, but it's more education with slides and training and that kind of stuff. And lots of questions that people ask live on the lines, and we answer those. So lots of fun. In fact, this Tuesday night we have our after party coming up, and that's where we all get on a Zoom call so we can all see each other, and we're able to laugh and scratch a little bit and have some fun, tell a few jokes, get to know everybody a little bit better. You know, it's kind of like getting out of the classroom and into the cafeteria or the rumpus room or whatever it might be. So would encourage you to hit that like button, hit that heart button. That helps us spread this message and reach more people on a regular basis. Have a great weekend. You know, we're in a weird time. The bad news is the Omicron is spreading. The good news is it doesn't seem to be so bad. And once you punch out of it, you got lots of new immunity. It's like getting a wonderful new lease on life. And hopefully we're on our way back to life as we knew it. Yes. And the after party, actual scratching may vary depending upon individual circumstances, but certainly lots of laughter. And yes, now the shorter hospitalizations are good. Many fewer people being hospitalized and that kind of thing. So look forward to seeing you in our Tuesday night call or on Facebook Friday or any other one of our programs along the way. Be sure and hit that like button on the way out, and take care. Have a good weekend.